Brought to you by Penguin.
Black Sheep by Georgette Heyer. Read by Natalie Simpson. Chapter 1. A little before 8 o'clock, at the close of a damp autumn day, a post-chaise entered Bath on the London road, and presently drew up outside a house in Sydney Place. It was a hired vehicle, but it was drawn by 4 horses, and there was nothing in the appearance of the lady who occupied it to suggest that a private chaise, with her own postilions, would have been rather beyond her touch. She was accompanied by a middle-aged maid, and she was attired in an olive-green redingote of twilled silk, which so exactly fitted her admirable figure that any female beholding it would have recognized at a glance that it had been made for her by a modiste of the first stare. It combined the simplicity of a garment designed for travel with an elegance only rivalled by the hat which becomingly framed Miss Abigail Wendover's face. No curled plumes or bunches of flowers adorned this confection. It was made of gros de Naples, bound with a satin ribbon. Its poke was moderate, and its crown shallow, but it was as fashionable as the redingote. The face beneath it was neither that of a girl in her first bloom, nor that of an accredited beauty, but it held an elusive charm which was centred in the lady's eyes, and the shy laughter which lurked in them. They were grey, and they held a great deal of intelligence, but her other features were not remarkable. Her mouth being too large for beauty, her nose too far removed from the classical, and her chin rather too resolute. Her hair was neither fashionably dark nor angelically fair, but of a soft brown. It was not cropped after the prevailing mode. She wore it braided round her head, or in a knot, from which curls fell about her ears. Occasionally, and in defiance of her niece's vehemently expressed disapproval, she tied a lace cap over it. Fanny said that it made her look like an old maid, and cried out indignantly when she answered, in her pretty musical voice, "Well, I am an old maid." It seemed as if her arrival had been eagerly awaited, for hardly had the chaise drawn up than the door of the house, which was her home, was flung open, and a footman came hurrying out to let down the steps of the chaise. He was followed by an elderly butler, who handed his mistress down, beaming a welcome, and saying, "Good evening, Miss Abby." "Well, and it is a good evening which brings you home again. I am very happy to see you, ma'am." "Oh, and so happy as I am, Mitten," she responded. "I don't think I was ever away for so many weeks before. Is my sister well?" "Pretty stout, ma'am, barring a touch of rheumatism. She was a trifle down pin when you first went away, and took the notion into her head that she was of a consumptive habit." "Oh, no!" exclaimed Abby in comical dismay. "No, ma'am," agreed Mitten. "It was no more than an epidemic cold which left her with a little cough, as the new doctor was able to convince her." His tone was one of bland respect, but there was a twinkle in his eye which drew an involuntary chuckle from her. The twinkle deepened, but all he said was, "Very glad she will be to see you, Miss Abby. Quite on the fidgets she has been for hours past, fearing that there might be another put-off." "Then I must go up to her immediately," Abby said, and went with a light step into the house, leaving Mitten to extend a gracious welcome to her attendant. Since the struggle for position between the butler grown old in the service of the family and the one-time nurse to its 3 younger daughters was unremitting, Mrs. Grimston took this in bad part, detecting a note of patronage, and merely adjured him never to mind how she did, but to take care of Miss Abby's jewel-box. Meanwhile, Abby, running up the stairs, found her sister awaiting her at the top of the first flight. Miss Wendover, enfolding her in a fond embrace, shed tears of joy, and begged her in one tumbled speech to retire instantly to bed after the fatigue of her journey, to come into the drawing-room, not to put herself to the trouble of uttering a word until she should be perfectly rested, and to tell her at once all about dear Jane, and dear Mary, and dear Jane's sweet new baby. 16 years separated the sisters, for they were the eldest and the young.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?